Welcome to the Fellas Podcast, the ultimate Formula One podcast for fans by fans, where we discuss all the happenings in the world of Formula One. Now, let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode of the Fellas Podcast, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the Bahrain race and all the things that happened today in the race. But first, please make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and X, and don't forget Bluesky. And also remember, on Sundays at 3 o'clock Pacific and also 6 o'clock Eastern, we're going live with our shows. So be sure to join us. Today we have a special guest, Carmel. Carmel, thanks for being along with us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, glad
Love
to
to
be
get
here.
your perspective. But let's go ahead and get started. First, let's talk about the qualifying. What are you guys' thoughts on the qualifying of the race?
For me, what was surprising was Pierre Gasly with that Alpine, pulling that Alpine up to qualified in fifth. That I was shocked, pleasantly so to see that. That was on the number one on my list. The other thing was also seeing that Max was languishing down in seventh. Didn't expect that. And then you also have Lando not able to do better than sixth.
I said this in the last show in the chat that Oscar needed to qualify first. That was a thing we needed to see, is just get ahead of Lando. And now let's see what the engineers and everyone in the staff does and what Zach says, because now you can't take it from him. So I was, when I saw he had that P1, I'm like, okay, that now let's go. So that's the biggest thing I was looking for, and that's what he did.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with your statement. Yes, it's based upon what I said also last week. Yes, this was the point where you had to, put up or shut up, right? And with Lando, not having a good, final lap, and Oscar coming out and doing his thing, it was, it was time to see what McLaren's going to be doing, as far as this is their other driver producing a reputable finish for the qualifying.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go in a different direction. I was disappointed in Ferrari, especially Lewis, as far as qualifying was concerned. Very happy for Piastri. I don't know if you guys remember what I said last week about, Piastri is going to take it from Lando. He's starting to do that. He took it from him this week. Was way out ahead pretty much the whole race. But let's just talk about qualifying. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, fellas. But yeah, Piastri is definitely. I stated he's probably going to take the point lead on the sixth race, but we'll see what happens next week. He almost had it this race. Little surprised about Kimi Antonelli being so strong so early, and then as far as qualifying was concerned. But yeah, very disappointed in Lewis and also Yuki. I think Yuki could have been better as well as far as qualifying.
Well, I'll just say this about Yuki and qualifying. First time getting into Q3, so. I want to hope it's baby steps to hopefully he can do that again in the next race. So last time he didn't make it there. And the other part about Lando and Oscar, I think it's a case of the same. Lando's throwing it away. Nothing against Oscar. Oscar's doing his part, but Lando is making some silly mistakes and not being consistent, throwing it away. And it kind of goes back to what we said earlier on in the season and even a little bit last season. World champions, that's one of the things that they're able to do. They make very few mistakes, and Lando still has to work on that. So anyway, without getting too far into it, that's my.
What did you guys think about Verstappen's placement in qualifying? I mean, he was seventh.
Well, he had issues with the car, right? They were complaining about the car setup during the qualifying, if I'm correct.
Yeah, he was.
Right. So
yeah,
I think
I just thought it would make you happy that he was seventh.
well, so that's all right. I'm trying to be more mature in my view, right? So it was what I found interesting though, is that the car has gone so awry that now it's, for this race, it seemed unmanageable, even for the person that would manage it from before. Right. So I think it put Yuki on a more even foot because of that, I think. Because so let me clarify, because the gap between finishing, right, it kind of came back a little closer, right?
Okay.
That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
Any thoughts on Red Bull's struggles, Ray, Carmel?
I mean, look, it's Verstappen is kind of the villain people, unless you're Red Bull fan. We kind of don't want to see him win. That's just it is what it is. But also what Ray said, being an adult, being a fan of a sport, and I always want people at their best to get beat by the person I'm pushing for. So I don't want anyone to fall off just because car problems or your engineer sucks, whatever. But look, they've done some dumb stuff where they moving guys around. Even the least I see Christian Horner, the better. All this stuff for this team is just like, okay, good. I just want to see some other people up there doing well. So if they don't, podium, if they don't get any points, I'm okay with it. I'm good. But Verstappen's a great driver, so I can't take that away from him. And I just want to see him have a car that's equal to his ability, and everyone else has the same thing. So I hate when anyone's talent's not matched up to their equipment in any sport. So, but when it happens to Red Bull, it's a little different, So,
well, it's funny you say that, because when you said Christian Horner, because I forget the season where they had it in Drive to Survive, where the team principals were meeting and Christian is saying to Toto, fix your effing car, and I'm looking at it now and I'm like, here you go. Fix your effing car, Christian, because the Mercedes is up
funny.
the road.
It's funny how stuff's coming back on them right now. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the race. Let's get into the race. I think there was some things that happened. We could easily title the race the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Easily going forward. But I think the good was, we talked about Oscar. I think he drove a great race. He was out in the front. We barely saw him, which is always a good thing. I think just during the beginning of the race, at the start of the race, I was a little shocked that Leclerc was able to and Lando were able to duke it out in the beginning. But what were you guys' thoughts in the beginning of the race and how it started?
Well, I think Oscar, did a commanding getaway from his grid spot, right? Because he made sure when he came out, he covered over to make sure that that person, the driver wasn't able to get by him, and then he came back over to to enter the corner properly, right? And I want to say that race, not even just for the guys in the front, but there were a lot of position changes throughout the race, right? As far as like the guys that are back markers. One that jumps to mind is Ollie Bierman, right? He started last, and I think he jumped up a couple spots during that first lap. So there were a lot of movements forward in that that portion of the race, but there are still some people that kind of lost a spot or two, trying to make that shift as the race got started. So for my takeaway for the beginning of the race, from a overall perspective, was that there was a lot of movement on track as far as positions.
Yeah.
Ralph?
Lewis did well too. He was attacking. But yeah, Oscar covered George on the start, which is what he was supposed to do, and got away clean.
But what about Lando? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say about Oscar and George. That start honestly made George a non-entity, a non-factor. Like, honestly, after the race, the only thing I remember is George saying the audacity about being on soft tires. Then I don't remember him the rest of the race. It's like Oscar, once he got away, the battle was for P2 and back. So that start was extremely important.
Yeah. Speaking of starts, what about Lando's faux pas at the line there?
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah. Well, I will say this though. What I found curious, it was reported by Max Verstappen.
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, it was. But Max was diagonally back from him, so he could see it. He had a clear shot. I saw that. So I know one of the commentators said, "Oh, that's amazing." I was like, "No, it's not. He's right there." Right. He was right next to him.
I would imagine if you're sitting, anything in front of you and someone moves a millimeter, anyone behind you is going to see that, especially the guy just to your left.
Right.
It just happened to be Max.
Right.
So look, if it was Yuki, if it was Bierman or Idjar, whatever, no one would have thought anything of it. They just, oh hey, such and such move, but it's Max. It's just different.
But again, that goes to what we're saying, that Lando has to get his head together. It's like what we said last season with him and Max, right? Where I said that, yeah, they're friends and all of that, but he has to learn to throw that away. Max is just a guy he's got to get past. And one of the things that he had a problem with is that he's not able to. These are the things that are being highlighted now. Like, you're stepping up into another level, and it's showing all the areas you have to work on. Whereas you have Oscar, where, to me, it's funny, when Kimi Räikkönen was racing and they used to call him the Iceman. I don't know. I think Oscar Piastri's nickname could be Calm and Cool, because he just settles in. I mean, even when he wins, his voice is just, hey, great, guys, great race. There's no woohoo. What does that show? That's a level of control, maturity, and he's showing Lando, hey, man, I'm coming. I'm coming for this. I'm coming for this. So I think go ahead.
No, yeah, I feel like Lando, he's having fun. He's enjoying it. He's got a friend out there that's on the track too. It's almost like Barkley and Jordan, where Jordan and him are buddies, but he'll never get a championship because he's not that dog like Jordan, right? You got that talent. Barkley had immense talent, but he just didn't focus enough. All 82 and then 15 games in the whatever. You need to get the whole thing done, and talent's there for Lando. It's just you can't false start in the race.
Yeah.
You can't move. What are you messing with right now? Like, why are you not tapped in to this race? It's just weird for a guy with that much talent. So
yeah, I mean, if I can comment on that, I think you gave a great analogy. I do think Charles Barkley had the dog, but it was sporadic when he wanted to bring it out, right? Unlike Jordan, he was very consistent in that. And I think Verstappen, Lewis, probably Senna, and definitely Mickelson, they were relentless, right? So they wanted to be the best in practice, 1, 2, and 3. They wanted to be the best in qualifying, 1, 2, and 3, and they also wanted to win the race. And sometimes I think we get 80% of that with Lando right now. And I don't know if we're ever going to get 100% for a full season. I think if he does win a world champion, it's probably going to be one world champion. It's not going to be, like Verstappen and have three in a row, or like Lewis, where they're consistently going after the championship. He doesn't seem relentless, and I think that's the dog or the fight that you're talking about, Carmel.
Right.
Could I jump in with one thing, to follow up on that? So remember now, I think he got shook with the way he finished in the qualifying, and he's been known to be very critical of himself, and I think that carried over into the race, right? Because he was there with one of the commentators, and they were talking, asking him questions about it. It took him for a while to kind of come off and give almost like quote unquote PC answer, right? Because I think he was still caught up in his head as far as, how, Oscar shook him, right? Oscar came and shook him, and he wasn't able to answer back. And I think that, impacted his whole performance for the whole weekend, my take.
Just real quick, if Oscar is shaking him now, he hasn't been paying attention. He hasn't been paying attention because Oscar's been on his tail from day one.
Yeah.
Well, I hear you, but I think that plays a part. He's been on his tail, that's true, but maybe their eyes weren't as wide open to find out what he's bringing with that, right? And I think this year's the year for Oscar. He has gotten 2 times where he had opportunity to step up, and they said hold in place. And I think Oscar is trying to set a precedence that that opportunity never arises again. So if he's P1, you can't tell me to hold in place anymore. I am out front. I am doing the stuff. So yeah, exactly. So
he's gonna take him. Told you guys. He ain't playing.
So
it's funny because I feel like, keeping on the basketball analogy, if Lando was like Barkley, Piastri could be like Olajuwon, or he could be like Kobe. He could be where like you're the next guy after with Michael, but then this other talent comes in that's just like hyper focused and just as much as a killer as the other guy you're trying to run with, and you just get lost in the mix. And now you're just not going to ever catch up because now you got guys like Bear McKenna, Antonelli, all these kids are like coming. So like Lando might get lost in the mix quick.
Yeah.
And
that's what separates again a world champion. They're very consistent, you know, and on top of everything else, they're consistent. Their performances are consistent. They make very, very few mistakes.
Yeah,
and
relentless,
and you know, strong mental fortitude, all of that. But that's where Lando that's his weakness. I think it's that mental fortitude and the fact that he's making a lot of silly mistakes. He's throwing it away. He's handing it to Oscar. I mean, not that, you know, but Oscar is going after it as well. But he's handing it to him by the mistakes he's making.
Yeah,
so what do you guys? Go ahead.
I feel like Lando. I'm sorry, just on a close up on Lando. I feel like Lando is the kind of guy that's looking at the whole race, and Oscar is looking at every turn. Verstappen every turn. Lou every turn. Like it's not this. I think Lando gets tired mentally of trying to hold on to something where these guys are like, every turn is a punch. Right. I'm not thinking about this long race. I'm not thinking about the championship. Right. Every turn to me is what I'm thinking about. So you don't have this long thing to hold on to. So I think Lando has these lapses because he's just tired mentally. Yeah. And he's just looking at it different than these other guys are. They're not holding on to that thing. Like you said, if he messes up in qualifying or messes up here, he's holding on to this whole thing where it's like, okay, I'm done. Next one. So he's got to shift his mentality.
Yeah. This, just to wrap this up in a bow, it was evident in the race when he said, when the team came on the race and said, hey, don't forget to take a drink. And he said, I would if it was working. That means he hasn't complained the whole entire race about not having a water bottle because he's been so focused.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's getting after it.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about the overall race as far as tire strategy and some of the overtaking and especially Ferrari? Ferrari, I thought was going to have another terrible race, but they pulled it out at the end with the tire strategy. What did you guys think about that?
So if I may jump in, I think the what was proven by the tires that came to the track that the medium and soft were the best. I think from what I gathered, the hards were the worst because I was listening on Lewis's radio and he reported back that, he couldn't stop the car. He couldn't get the car to turn in because it seemed like those hards needed quite a time to come in for them to get the grip. And I think the same thing with Verstappen went to hards and had to come back in and change to another set of tires. So yeah. I think the tires that Pirelli brought to the event had a dramatic impact on the drivers of the event, right, when going through. Because if you were on soft or mediums, you had a better chance. Your car behaved a bit better than before, right? And I wanted to also just call out who'd have thought Mercedes would finish second, right? It's I have to give Russell props for his drive. For somebody that was considered, a team that would consider not really in the front portion of the top three, to see him pull off a second, I have to give him props for that. That was pretty cool to see that happen.
It's just weird for Ferrari to seem like they're like, how long you been doing this? We've been doing this a long time, and yeah, this was better. It was better, but still, it's like there's just something missing when they're not understanding the strategy. But not switching one guy up, maybe going hard, medium, soft, like mixing it up, testing it out. Having both gone to medium really didn't make any sense to me. And we talked about that before we got on the show. I'm going to hard. I'm sorry. Didn't make much sense to me. And also, aren't you listening? Mm-hmm. I mean, you should be paying attention to what's going on. The hards from the jump was not a good choice. Right. So then to put them on there and then like they're struggling. It's just like, guys, like when can we get this? Now, again, this is race what? Race 3, race 4, where we at?
Mm-hmm. Race 4.
Race 4. Okay, so we got some time, but man, I know Lewis has got to be like, this is what I came over here for. Like
Bush League. No, I was kidding.
That is, man. This ain't, you're not in the back of the pack. This is Ferrari. This is But altogether, what I do think the tire strategy made the race at least more exciting, definitely compared to our last race.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised when they brought them in and dumped the mediums for hards. You know, seeing what else was going on with the other teams that were on coming out on hards. I thought for sure they would have probably came back out and maybe, you know, well, they did do. They ran another set of mediums.
Right.
Right. They ran
medium, then hard, right?
Right. But I thought when they came in after that, they would have probably tried to push the soft. But maybe they didn't feel they could have gone the distance. But we see now that would have been a gamble that would have worked. And just like you said, Carmel, even if it was to split it, but it definitely showed that the hard wasn't the tire to be on.
Correct.
You know, and yeah, Lewis was complaining right after that. Max was complaining. He dumped those hards quick.
Yeah.
Well,
this is
again,
the fourth race where we've seen they didn't take a gamble. Yeah. Like they're, you know, it's a race. Like it's not a parade. Like you've got to take a chance. Like
yeah.
So I just wanted to jump in on that, and then I'm going to jump right back out. Is that you said it, Ralph? The key thing is that they weren't sure that the softs could take it that far, right? Mm-hmm. So, and they also were trying to cut down on the amount of pit stops. So they figured if they did mediums, whatever they caught up in the first thing, they would ride out the hards until the hards came into play, right? But they didn't realize how horrible or the hards were, you know, and how long it would take them to come in, you know, to get to that sweet spot. My take.
Yeah, I mean, so in Ferrari's defense, we all know that engineers leave, engineers come. The leaders of the engineering manager is probably not as good as the one that was there 5 or 6 years ago. Got new technology coming in, new teams. So, you know, it could be that every year or every other year you're starting from scratch when it comes to chemistry within the team strategy, right? So I think Ferrari has gone through that the last 3 years, in my opinion. That they're just not as good as they were a few years ago. But last year they were okay. I mean, they started off slow and then they got to a point where they were catching up in points, especially Charles. I think the tire strategy thing, you know, you have to wear 2 sets, right? You have to drive on 2 sets. So they started with 2 mediums, which I thought was a little crazy, but it worked. They were able to catch up and get into third and 5th place with that. But I would have went for the softs only because, and this is just me, I have no telemetry on the cars or any data, but less gas means less wear, and they had less gas in the car, and they had 24 laps to go, and the softs were able to do 18 in the first stint with some of the drivers. So I figured you should be able to pull out another 6 laps with less gas in it. When they went to the hards, I was just like, well, what are you guys doing? But I don't have all the data to challenge it. Carmel, you mentioned something about taking a chance, right? I think they've taken chances and it's backfired on them many times. Ferrari is just, you know, when Charles was getting on the call and telling them on the radio and telling them, no, I don't want to do that. It's because he has no faith in their decision making. They probably have taken chances and screwed it up for the last 3 years. So I'm surprised. I haven't listened to Lewis's radio. I think, Ray, you have, but I'm surprised that Lewis is not telling them what to do at this point.
So if I could just jumping on that since you brought it up, it seems to me from my perspective, they're still getting to know each other, his race engineer and Lewis, because Lewis will ask certain questions and it takes the race engineer what I perceive to be a long time to come back with an answer. It's as if they're not on a similar wavelength. So I think they're working on getting there, right? As far as, you know, the understanding of what's important to Lewis in the different portions of the race.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm just curious what that Delta strategy that Charles wanted.
One stop, right? One stop.
Yeah, but what tire would that have been?
Probably would have been the hard.
Yep, I'd agree. Yep.
Yeah, probably would have been the hard. And I don't know if you guys listened to any of the post-race comments, but Lewis did state that he's still struggling with this new car, right? Because he had, for the last 15 years, he's had the same brakes, the same chassis, the same team. he knew how to manipulate the Mercedes car, right? He knew exactly how to manipulate it. He had the same engineers roughly, right? So if there was a tweak, they knew exactly how to, almost with telepathy, tell him exactly how he wants the car to operate.
Mhm.
He said on the post game, he said, I'm now having to figure out the car versus me, the car figuring me out, right? He said, that's what's taking so long, is that there's things about this car, the brakes bite differently, the steering wheel is different, everything about the car's chassis is different. So I'm having to figure it out because there's no time for the car to figure me out, and go vice versa. So he takes all the blame. He's taking all the blame right now, and that's probably why he's not fighting back with the lead engineer, because he feels it's his fault or his lack of understanding the car at this time.
Well, I mean, I hear that. He's getting what he went there for. It's a challenge, right? He could have stayed at a Mercedes and just kept going. But you know what? To go to another team, and try to get yourself up to speed, I think he's moving in the right direction. I'll say that much. I think he's moving in the right direction. So
I think this is probably one of the backfires from Drive to Survive, and just the overall exposure is you can't figure things out now. Like, everyone wants Lewis to be Lewis yesterday. Like, it's like, no, that's not how this works. Like, it takes time, whole new team, whole new car, a lot of stuff. Because some people don't know what Lewis went through prior to coming to Ferrari. They think he was with Mercedes 2 years, right? Because that's when they came in. Oh, I'm watching that. They don't know how long it took to get that whole thing going, and be as one with the cars, as Simon was saying. Now he's in a whole nother country, whole nother team, whole nother everything, and they want that Lewis, right? Everything's the microscope is just getting tighter and tighter. Same thing with, again, you keep using the NBA analogy. Back in the day, guys would, after the game, go to a bar, go to a club, whatever. You can't do that now. Like, there's paparazzi everywhere. There's Twitter bloggers everywhere. There's something everywhere watching your every move. Where back in the day, you could kind of get away doing whoop-de-whoop and still play tomorrow. So now Lewis is, and to Lewis's credit, he's such a good ambassador, period, of the sport. And just being a competitor and a sportsman, he's going to take the blame. He's going to put it on himself. He's a 8-time world champion. So yeah. So
did you notice that, Ray? Okay, just making sure.
So yeah, he's going to take it on the chin. He's okay. No, I got it. We'll figure it out. It's on me. So
yeah.
Well, there's a learning curve, right? There's a learning curve, and he's got to step up to it. And yes, he's not going to put anybody down. He's going to take responsibility for it, because ultimately, at the point, he is the guy behind the wheel. And as to be a driver, you're trying to be adaptable.
Yeah. And just to close this up a little bit, coming in fifth, based on what transpired today, I thought he did a hell of a job coming in fifth place. And Leclerc coming in fourth. I mean, he really should have had. I think he would have held on the third if he had softs, to be honest.
Yeah.
But fourth and fifth for Ferrari, getting some good points, putting them back in the top 7. I think that was great results for Ferrari today. I did like, though, and I wanted someone's perspective on this, how Yuki was bullying or not letting Sykes bully him, and just really trying to handle himself on the court. I did like that fight between Yuki and Sykes.
Well, yeah. The fight was so good that they caused a safety car, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Well, a safety car that was surprised it wasn't a virtual, but why a full safety? But yeah. But in the end, that contact damaged Carlos's car. He was having a great race. He was having his first great race in the Williams, showing that he's starting to get on top of that car as well. And sadly, it ended that way. They had to retire the car. Yeah. But yeah, they were kind of bumper carring it out there a little bit.
Yeah, well, Yuki knows his career is on the line, so he's in it for everything he can get from it.
Well, I'll say this: I did enjoy watching Carlos fight with Lewis, right? Because to me, I was looking at Carlos as like, that's my car. That was my car, and I'm not letting you buy, right? So I kind of enjoyed that, and then Lewis got through.
Right.
And then Lewis with Antonelli, where I was like, Lewis is like, that was my car, and I'm getting past you, kind of thing. Like it was interesting for me. I kind of chuckled when I was watching those two moves. But yeah, I feel bad for Carlos. Hopefully next week he can, have a similar result, meaning strong race result and finish in the points. Other than that, yeah, Lewis, like I said, he's going in the right direction, but his goal is to be even closer to Charles. He needs to be, if he's not in front of him, on his gearbox, pushing. So that's what I'm hoping to see in the next few races.
Yeah, I think one of the uglies of the good and the bad and the ugly was Antonelli, Kimi, coming in 11th, didn't score any points, and he qualified 4th.
Yeah.
He struggled. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was just because of the safety car. I don't know what transpired there, but that's probably disappointing race for him. Probably his first, though, out of the first 4. So, I'm sure there was a reason. Do you guys think it was the safety car that messed him up?
I can't really say, because at that point I was not really focused on what his performance was. I was looking at other members in the field to see how they were performing. Yeah. So it could be higher.
A strong driver though, man. He's a hot shot. He's a rising star. Put it that way. So he'll be okay.
I agree with that statement wholeheartedly, along with Ollie Beerman and
Ollie Beerman.
Yeah, the person that didn't show well, they didn't talk much about, was Hajar this go around, right? Yeah. But I think those 3 guys are really good selection for next championship leaders.
And with that, Bina touched on the rookies a little. Even though he finished 14th, doing this weekend he looked good. He looked good, even though from qualifying all up into the race, he looked good. Ultimately finished in 14th. So hopefully he's on an upswing, and can climb up to get into the points. But definitely better than the other races, the previous races.
Yeah, Beerman is the one that's really catching me. Like, I mean, first to be like, last to start this race and then get up in the 10th and get points. Mm-hmm. But I want to say now this is 3 races in a row where he's gotten points. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be a young dude and driving, in a Haas car. I mean, he's not driving, a Ferrari or a McLaren. The dude's driving his butt off. Yeah. How old is he? 20, 19?
I forget.
19, I think.
19.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So next week, how did you guys think about the results? First of all, right? Russell coming in 2nd, Lando coming in 3rd. Still holding his position in as point leader at this point. I think Verstappen went from 2nd to 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. I think the end of the race, other than Piastri, was predictable. Piastri was way ahead of everyone. No one could really catch him. Even after the safety car, he still got up about 15 seconds on everyone. It was kind of ridiculous, to be honest. But Verstappen pulled off a pass on the last lap. I thought that was, and it wasn't at a DRS zone either. It was unbelievable how he did that. So that's pretty good driving. What do you guys think about the end of the race?
Well, I said, if you don't mind, I just jump in real quick. I think for George, going back on George, he was managing quite a bit of issues with the car, right? Because they started off losing telemetry, and then the steering wheel went blank. Right on him, and I think they I didn't see anything come across, but they were going to talk to him about enabling the DRS at the wrong time. But he said he pushed the radio button, and the radio button deployed the DRS, and he got off of it right as he realized that what happened. So I think if he managed all of that, again, props to him, for finishing the race, because he was doing a lot of work in that car, right? While blind, but being blind and not seeing, what the telemetry was saying to him while he was in the car. Yeah. So I give him that props for it.
George earned his pay and then some, in that race. I'll say that. But to keep Lando behind with the failing systems. But other than that, I mean, I think at the close, Charles battling Lando, that was another one. That I was just like, okay, here we go, guys. And Charles was making that Ferrari wide.
Yeah, he's very clean at battling. He doesn't really do all those movements or anything like that. He's very clean. He's, you're gonna have a hard time getting around him, but he's not playing dirty.
No, he's not Max. Let's say it. I'll throw it out. He's not Max. Max is a dirty driver. When it comes to I'll say it. It's true. It's there.
He's relentless.
Relentlessly dirty. No, but yeah, Charles, he made it wide. He made it real wide, but he's not gonna give it to you. You gotta take it. But yeah, I thought that was a highlight for me. I like watching that battle.
Yeah, really. Going back to what you said, Ralph, earlier, I really wish Charles was on the sauce for that battle. I think it would have been a different story. I think he probably would have kept Norris off. So when he got that position, I was like, oh, okay. And then he just couldn't hold it. So I would like to have seen that. Also, getting back to Max getting that last pass, that's the thing we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That point, that one thing, 20 races from now could be the difference between him winning another world championship or not. I almost feel like if Lando was in that position, he would have just, okay, let me just finish the race where I'm at.
Right.
That little thing could make that big of a difference in Max's, because I think at one point Max was like at 18th.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You get that far back, some cat could be like, man, I'm just gonna mail it in, just get the car home. And he just nope.
Right. Yep.
And look where he finished. So it's like that's the thing we're talking about. Do you have that in you? I don't think Lando does.
Yeah.
He has to ignite it. Yeah, if it's there, he has to ignite it, because that's the difference. And just going back to Lando and Oscar, Oscar does it. He's not talking up a storm. He's just quietly. He's a quiet assassin. He's a quiet assassin. He's about his work, and that's it. But he's steady where he needs to be steady. He's aggressive where he needs to be aggressive. And like I said, we've all said it. That's where Lando's losing it. He's losing it in that aspect. He has to get that aggression up more and charge for it. And just like you said, Carmel, Max wasn't just going to bring it home for the points. He's like, no, I'm going to pass this guy. I got it. I'm going for that point. And he got it.
And he did.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Next week we're in Saudi.
Mm-hmm.
What are your predictions for the Saudi race? All right, I'll go ahead and start if you guys don't mind. My prediction from last week was that Oscar Piastri was going to be the leader in points by race 6.
Mm-hmm.
It might be race 5. I am picking him to come in first. I am picking Lando because McLaren is just strong right now. I can't go against McLaren, so I'm gonna say Lando is second. And something tells me Charles is going to be third. That's my pick. Piastri, Lando, and Charles.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Carmel, you want to go?
Yeah. So I think this past week I had Oscar and Max and Lewis. Lewis almost got in the podium. He didn't. This week I'm gonna go again with Oscar. And I like the Leclerc call. I have him coming in second. And I'm gonna throw a wild one. I'm liking this kid. I think, and last year he finished 7th at Saudi with Bierman. I'm thinking Bierman gets the podium this week.
Interesting.
Okay. Wow.
Interesting.
I'm gonna throw a wild one here.
Okay, you went out there a little bit.
Yeah. Just seen as that the Haas car is good, but not that good. But I understand. Yeah, he has talent. But I'll go with Oscar. It's going to be an Oscar Lando fight, and in there, I think Max is going to show back up. I think Red Bull is going to fix whatever that ailment is with the car this week, and Max will be in that mix. So I think those are the 3 drivers, and on the outside, it's a toss up between Mercedes and Ferrari. I think Mercedes will be in front of Ferrari.
Yeah.
Just remember, Red Bull doesn't have their aerodynamicists anymore. Just putting that out there. So
yeah, well,
you know,
I think Lando's going to bounce back. I think it's going to be Lando, Oscar, Max. I'm going to go a step further, and then it's going to be George and Charles. Top 5.
Okay, you went top 5.
Yeah,
okay.
Max won it one Saudi last year.
Mhm.
Okay,
He did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
we'll
Max
see.
Max is coming back. He's coming back. He's coming.
Nah,
back.
he's done.
Nah,
He's
but
relentless.
those McLarens are too hot right now. So.
He's done, man. He's done. No. Yeah, Red Bull is definitely going to come back. I don't know about Yuki getting up there in points, but it's still early in the season. We saw a major shift after I think it was race 7 or 8 last year, and things is, everyone started putting upgrades on the car, and things started changing around, and points started getting harder for Max. Remember, Max won the first 5 races last year, and then all of a sudden things turned around for McLaren. So we'll see who's going to be that team that starts to step up. But I like it being close right now with points, so we'll see how that goes. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Carmel, for being a part of our show. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for watching live, and we'll see you guys next week at the Saudi race. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the thumbs up button. Have a great night, everyone.
Argent.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.